So you want to learn to code, but you think it's hard. But let me take a guess at what your day looks like. You wake up and you open TikTok. You scroll for 30 minutes before you finally get up and get to work or school, where you spend all day. And then when you come home at 5 p.m., you tell yourself, I deserve some time to myself. So instead of coding, you watch some sports for an hour. Then at 7 p.m, you're finally ready to give some time for your coding goals. So you open VS Code to write some code. No, you don't do that. You open YouTube instead because you think that maybe if I just watch one more tutorial from some dumb YouTuber, maybe then finally it will just click and I will be ready to apply for jobs. Now, the point is that the reason you think learning to code is hard because the way you have designed your life makes learning to code really damn hard. And so to make this as simple for you as possible, in this video, I'm going to tell you the 3 very simple changes and habits that I made in my life that I have found to make the biggest difference to actually make learning to code a lot more effortless than it has to be without overcomplicating what I'm doing or overcomplicating my life. So let's talk about what to do in the morning. And before we talk about the ultimate programmer productivity morning routine, which, spoiler alert, has nothing ultimate about it, it's not even particularly productive, it's just what works for me. Before that, to work effectively, to learn to code, the only 3 things you need to know are: number 1, you need to know what to work on. Number 2, you need to know when to work on it. And number 3, you need to know how to work on it. So if you can do the right things every day at the right times of the day for you, and if you can maximize how fast you get those things done with enough time, you will succeed. First, let's talk about the what. And this is where I want to present to you the ultimate programmer, tech startup founder morning routine. And it consists of exactly 1 step. When you wake up in the morning and you go get your coffee or whatever, you should open up your to-do list and instantly define what is the 1 key task you want to achieve today. If you're going through a basic course, maybe that's just completing the next 3 lessons and doing whatever homework or project they assign. But understand that learning comes from action. So most of the time, these most important tasks will look like building out the skeleton of a certain new page for your app, fixing a bug, choosing which API to use. There might be multiple things you could do, but out of all of those things, what is the 1 thing that is most important? When you do this, the first thing that happens psychologically is that you begin the day with intention. It gives you a mission to accomplish, a purpose for that day, and it makes you feel like you need to complete the things, otherwise you are a failure. So after you adopt this first change, you will already make a lot more progress, a lot more effortlessly, because you will always know exactly what to do. But to take this to the next level, which will also help with the 3rd part of working effectively, which we'll talk about in a second, we need to choose, of course, when in the day is the best time for me to complete these tasks. Now, a lot of people online in the productivity space will say like,
oh, you need to schedule every single minute of your day. Everything needs to be time blocked and like blah, 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 blah.
Trust me, I tried this. My calendar was like filled of like scheduling every day. It doesn't work because every day is different. Your task will take a different amount of time. What has worked for me is a much more simple way to schedule my day. So after choosing what to do, what I do next in my morning is I look at my schedule for the days to see if I have any meetings, etc. that I have to attend. For example, every day we have our morning stand-up. Outside of these times, I will simply decide like, okay, when do I want to do my tasks today? And I will simply plug my tasks into my calendar just like this, ideally as early on in the day as possible, so that I'm working on the most important things when I have the most energy, which for me is in the morning. You know, and this sounds easy, but it's actually pretty hard to build it into a routine. This is because often we might have tasks scattered in many places, like our email, our Slack, and having to check all of these apps makes us very prone to get distracted. And on top of that, days move fast. New to-do items might pop into our heads at any time. So organizing all of this can get very overwhelming. And that is why the tool that I'm actually using here is called Akiflow. Akiflow is a time blocking platform that makes it very easy to consolidate all your tools in one place and block time for your tasks in your calendar. What it does is that it captures tasks that you have written in all your different apps and consolidates them together automatically. For example, I've integrated Slack, Todoist, and Notion into Akiflow, and whenever I add a task in Todoist or Notion, for example, they both show up in one central place inside of Akiflow. Or if there's an important Slack message from our startup Slack channel, I can just bookmark it like this and it will show up inside of Akiflow so I can action and schedule it later. It also makes it easy to capture tasks via their own command bar, which can be opened anywhere on your computer like this using their shortcut. So let's say I'm in a coffee shop like I was when I was writing this very script, and something I need to do just pops into my head. I can just quickly open up the taskbar by pressing Option space, type it in, and have it saved for later at the speed of thought. And when I do open the app later, I can schedule it into a particular time just by dragging it into my calendar, just like this. If you want to check it out, my link will be down below. Thank you for Akiflow for sponsoring this video and for making it possible. And now I can mark the task of filming this very sponsored segment complete. Nice. Let's get back to the video. And now you're gonna be like,
oh, but I have a job. That means I either have to wake up early to work on my goals, or I have to skip watching football at night.
Yep. The reason this is important is that when you do this, you are making yourself even more accountable. You are telling yourself that 10 a.m. like I will work on this task for 2 hours, and this prevents you from just leaving everything until 10 p.m. when you're too tired to do anything. And again, even if this is all you do, you'll already make progress so much faster. But to really maximize your results, you'll want to also implement the third change, which is to understand how to work when you are working on your coding learning. And I will say that this is the most personal out of the 3 steps because different things work for different people. But again, I can just tell you what has worked for me. First is about just making sure you're prioritizing what matters, which is your goals and your work, not your phone notifications. It's very easy to just turn on the do not disturb mode you have on your iPhone. I assume even Androids have something similar, as scrubby as Android phones are. I'm just kidding. And I promise you, the world will not end. Your relationships with your people will not die if you make them wait for replies on their text for a moment. So for your deep work blocks, silence your damn notifications. You don't understand how much it affects your flow state, how much more difficult it makes it for you to get back into flow when you're constantly interrupting yourself by seeing and hearing these stupid notifications. The second one might seem a bit counterintuitive, but it's about actually how you eat. I'm sure you know this feeling. When you eat in a big meal, your body literally goes into a coma, which makes focusing and working a lot harder. So it makes sense to block your time in such a way that you eat after them rather than before them. I often don't do this myself, actually, which is a bad habit I have. And whenever I do make the mistake of having an all-you-can-eat sushi buffet before a massive work block, I definitely pay the price. But do as I say, not as I do, and don't eat a lot before you work. But above all of these things, there's one thing that I have found every successful person to have in common, whether it's in coding or entrepreneurship or fitness or like whatever. Almost every unsuccessful person, which are like most people by the way, have this attitude of like,
oh, I shouldn't care about my work that much. I should focus on enjoying life. It's sad to work hard. Like, don't work on weekends. Like,
by the way, if you think this way, like, that is okay. Like, I'm not judging you. Like, not everyone is meant to strive for hard goals. But if you do want to achieve difficult goals, that requires you to go through periods of your life where you're not always that comfortable. You need to decide if you want to win or if you want to be comfortable. Winning requires discomfort and an obsession towards reaching your goals. And here's where all of this comes together. If you're always at all times working on the most important task, you commit to actually doing these tasks and you maximize your output during each hour of time worked, you, ladies and gentlemen, will make learning to code effortless. It's not easy, but it is simple when you break it down that way, right? But now I know that you're asking,
But Thomas, how do I know what are the most important things for me to work on? How do I know what to do?
And I'm glad you asked, because earlier I made this video where I give you the exact literal step-by-step process, which is precisely how I would learn any programming language in 2023. So if you watch this video and then you apply the system from this video into what you learn, you will be absolutely unstoppable.